Hey y'all, it's Brooke here with Large Family Homestead. I know I have been slacking with some of my regular videos lately, like garden tours, what we plant. Normally those are something that I post every month. I don't think I've been keeping up very well with them the last month or two. So, including my members gardening checklist, I am so sorry I forgot to do one last month. And on top of that, then I released November's late. I apologize. It's up for you guys now, and I'll leave the November members gardening checklist link down below. If you guys are a member and you haven't seen it yet, you guys can go down there. It'll take you right to the post where you can download it and print it if you guys want to. Pretty much it just helps you with zones 3 through 11, what you guys need to do to be prepping your garden area for winter. So today we're going to do something a little different. Instead of talking about what you guys can plant this month, considering that it's November, I'm going to talk about veggies just that you can plant now, direct sow or transplant, but these plants are going to hopefully grow through the winter for you. So where I'm at in Texas, we're in zone 8B. I put Texas in the title. This is not going to apply to all of Texas. This is going to apply to certain areas in Texas. Some may apply to all of Texas. You're gonna have to use your discretion with some of this because, like I said, I'm in zone 8B. So this is more or less applied for zone 8B, but it should work in some of the cooler zones and warmer zones that we have in Texas. If you guys aren't sure about something, you can leave a question down in the comments if you let me know what your question is and what zone you're in, and I can help you out. If you're like, hey, well, what about this one that you mentioned? Like, can I do this one too? If you're not sure, you guys can put it down there. Even if you're in a different state, you can put it down there in the comments and I can find out for you. But to find information for all of the United States and for all of the zones to put in this video would take a very long time. So this is based off of where I am. And you're not going to need a greenhouse like you see behind me to plant these plants. These are going to be ones that you guys can do with little or no protection in your garden. You guys, if you want to have a little bit of protection in your garden and you don't want to, get a greenhouse, you can just get like little plastic bell covers and stuff that you can use for like lettuce plants and things. If you do want to get a greenhouse, I'll leave the one that's behind me linked for you guys. I really like it and you guys can grab it. If you guys get a greenhouse, especially where I am, you'll still be able to do warm season crops. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about growing outside with little or no protection. So let's jump right into it. First, I'm gonna start with one of the hardiest plants. And this is also based from my own experience, not just from research, but actual experience, because I had an all winter garden last year and it did really, really well. It was small, but I planted a lot of variety of things. And so I was able to see what does well and what doesn't during the winter where I am. So first up is spinach. This was one of the best crops to do over the winter. It was super hardy. The frost that we got barely phased it at all. It actually tasted better than the ones that I do in spring. And I think that this is actually because the frost makes it like sweeter almost, if that makes sense. So spinach is a definite yes, go for it. You can even do this one by seed right now if you want to. You don't need to get transplants for this. Next one is kale. Kale is not one that I planted, but I do know a lot about kale, and I know that this one is going to do just as well, if not better, than the spinach in the garden. If you guys like to plant kale, we don't really have anyone in our house that likes kale, and I like to stick to things that people like in our garden instead of trying to grow things that we're not actually going to eat, if that makes sense, because then it feels like a waste of my time. So I don't plant kale normally. I do have kale seeds, and I might do it eventually, but for right now, kale is not something that I do, but I know that this one will also work where I am if I wanted to plant it. You can also do this by seed if you want to. Next up is Swiss chard. Swiss chard did absolutely amazing. This is one that I did plant. It handles the freezes very, very well. At times, it did wilt a little bit, but it never died. At times it wilted a little, but it came back just fine. Never died. I planted Fort Hook Giant, I believe was the variety. I think I did Ruby Red as well. Next to a couple ones that I also don't have experience with, but like personal experience with, but I know they will last in the garden, is mustard greens and collards. These are two very popular options in the garden. I also believe that these will taste better after frost, if I'm correct. No personal experience, but I know that they will last. You can also plant these by seed. Next up, these you'll want to do by transplants, just because they're not quite as hardy when they're young. So these are going to be much better to do by transplants if you can get them. If you can't find anybody that sells them as transplants right now, you can also start them inside your house or in a greenhouse and then put them outside once they're transplant size. Okay, so first up is cabbage. And One of the reasons why you may want to actually start your garden now instead of in spring is I find that while there's also a lot less weeds now, so less care for your garden, there's also a lot less pests. For me, I seriously struggle with like worms and stuff on the cabbage, and planting them now, they seem to do a lot better because those pests that eat the cabbage normally aren't out right now because it's too cool for them. You can also do broccoli now and Brussels sprouts. Both will do well if you start them from transplants. I've done cabbage and Brussels sprouts, and I believe I did broccoli the winter before. All of them did really, really well over the winter and then grew all the way into spring and made for a super, super early spring harvest, which was nice. They were honestly being harvested while my spring crop was like still coming up. This one's a little bit more sensitive, but it should be okay, and that's cauliflower. This is not one that I've actually planted over the winter. I'm thinking about trying it maybe this year, but I haven't actually done it over the winter yet. It's a little bit more sensitive, but I think it should be okay, especially in zone 8. These next ones, if you're gonna get a really hard freeze, you may wanna throw a sheet of plastic over them, but I planted these last year and they were all fine without any protection. So that is carrots, beets, turnips, and radishes. All did very well. The beets and the turnips, so here was my experience with this. The beets, when we would get a pretty hard freeze, I didn't cover them, but the leaves would wilt, but they would come back. So the plant wouldn't die, it would just wilt. Same thing with the turnips. The radishes, I didn't have any problems with. They were so fast. Radishes grow in 6 to 8 weeks, like that. So, and then carrots, I had absolutely no problems growing them over the winter. They didn't even wilt. So you might want to throw a sheet of plastic over them if you're going to get a hard freeze, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Next up is allium. My sheet and my research says that you should plant bulb onions now. I don't normally start my sets until January. That's just what I've found to work the best, and my onions get very, very big, like huge big. Onions is something like one of my best and easiest crops to grow. I've done it for like 3 or 4 years now. They always turn out so beautiful. So I just continue to plant them in January. I don't know why a lot of sites recommend doing them now. I honestly think that they would struggle with all the freezes. I know that they go dormant and stuff, but like when I plant them in January, we normally get 1 more or 2 more hard freezes after that, and they normally wilt a little bit. And so I feel like that putting them in now would just stress them out more than necessary. I put them in January. You guys can do what you want to with that. Also, time for green onions and shallots. That's what they say now too. But again, I do all of that in January. Garlic. It is time to plant garlic. It's actually a little past time to plant garlic. If you haven't planted your garlic yet, like me, because I'm behind, you can still plant it. You should still get decent sized bulbs now. I really need to get mine in the ground. So seriously, I have to get mine in the ground. I just don't have cloves to plant at this moment. All right, and then if you guys are looking to plant some herbs that you're hoping to survive Texas winters with minimal help, you can do some cilantro. That's a good one. You guys have I was asked and asked and asked all like late summer and fall, when can I plant cilantro? When can I plant cilantro? Now's the time. Plant your cilantro. I always said, wait, it's gonna bolt, it's gonna bolt, it's gonna bolt. Now you guys can plant it. Next up is parsley. I did not realize that parsley was so hardy. We don't really plant it, I just use like the carrot tops. Pretty much the same thing, right? But I do have some this year. I actually have it in the greenhouse because I thought it was not as hardy, but my research shows that it should be hardy enough to survive actually. Thyme, not one that I personally have experience with, but research shows it should hold up in the Texas winters. A couple that I do have experience with is oregano. We have had oregano for years. Great one to do over the winter. It's a perennial here where I am. Highly, highly recommend. I've only planted it once. And chives. Chives will also keep coming back year after year. I just keep cutting them in the spring. They hold up great during the winter. I'm not sure how much winter harvest you're going to get with those or with the oregano, but they will survive the winter and be there in spring. And if you guys were looking to plant some perennials now, because there are some perennials that actually do better being planted now than in the spring, and that's strawberries. This is actually the best planting window for them. I need to go to my local nursery and get some because it's time for that, and I would really, really, really like to do some strawberries. It's also a good time to get asparagus crowns. So not asparagus seeds, but go get 1-year-old crowns from a nursery and plant those. Now's the best time to do it This is when I did them the year before. Our asparagus is doing pretty well. It's on its 3rd year this year. I actually did harvest a little bit of it last year because it was super thick. Now here's what you should not plant if you do not have protection. And I'm just trying to protect you guys here, protect you from the heartbreak of doing all of the work of planting these things and then them not surviving. So unless you have like a greenhouse or really, really good protection, do not plant these in Texas, at least in the lower zones. So that is tomatoes, peppers, cucumber, squash, melons, and basil. These are all warm season crops, and we've already gotten our first freeze in Texas, and everything, literally every one of those that was outside is dead. One overnight freeze took them all out. They're all warm season crops, and any kind of freeze is going to take them out. Now, if you have a greenhouse or you have protection, totally go for it. That's what I'm doing with my greenhouse. I already have tomatoes and beans and basil in here. And I hope to put some more warm season crops like squash and things like that in there. If you guys have protection, proper protection in your greenhouse, totally go for it. If you do not, don't waste your time or your money trying to plant these things because they're not going to survive without protection. So hopefully this video helps you guys get started with your winter garden. I don't know how many of you in here have had an all winter garden in Texas, but they actually have turned out pretty successful for me. I really enjoy doing it. As much as I like having the break, I also do like growing in winter because it's so easy to do. All of my perennials are dormant, so I don't have really anything to worry about there. The weeds are pretty much gone and all of the pests are pretty much gone. So it's a really, really easy growing season, and it's something that all Texas gardeners should be taking advantage of. If you guys found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, even if you're in a different state, different zone, please feel free to ask me down below. We answer all the questions that we see on the channel. And so we're happy to help you with whatever questions you may have. And I will see you all next time. Bye.